It's a Tuesday edition of PFTPM, recording a little bit early today just because I want to articulate some thoughts about the Patrick Mahomes contract. I've written about this at profootballtalk.com. I want to explain in further detail why I believe what I believe about the Mahomes contract. And my broad belief is he shouldn't sign it. And Patrick, if you're listening, and the chances that you're listening are slim and none, if you haven't signed it yet, don't sign it. A 12-year commitment is way too long of a contract for a player of his skill and ability to sign. I'm talking to you now, not him. I've given up on talking to him because I know he's not listening. But here's the bottom line. He's the best player in football right now. Potentially the best player of all time. We'll find out in the coming years. And in the coming 12 years, the Chiefs have exclusive control over his rights. He can't get out for 12 years. He can't force his way back to the table over the course of the next 12 years. Sure, he could hold out at some point. He doesn't seem like the type that would hold out, but he could. If he gets to a point where he looks around in 2027, 2028 and realizes that that contract with a new money average of $45 million per year pales in comparison to somebody we haven't even heard of yet, who may be making $60 million per year at the time, and the salary cap may be north of $300 million, maybe $400 million per year at the time. There's too much uncertainty over the way the game is going to change, over the way the money is going to grow. And in some respects, the Chiefs got him at a perfect time. Because right now, the uncertainty skews negative. We're looking at the pandemic. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when things are going to be normal again. Well, at some point, they will be. And when they are normal, there will be plenty of people spending plenty of money and plenty of time watching football. And as states throughout the country try to repair their budgets after the pandemic, the reality is this: there will be legalized gambling coast to coast. There'll be exceptions, Utah. Beyond that, hell, maybe even Utah will give in and allow legalized gambling because that's a way to make back a lot of money, and everyone's losing money. State and federal governments are losing money, and everyone else, for the most part, is losing money during this pandemic. The legalized gambling will spread. More money will be made by the NFL. More money will be made by the teams. Everything will get larger and larger and larger and larger, except Patrick Mahomes' contract. 10-year, $450 million extension. 12-year, $477 million contract. Think about that for a second. It's not a $500 million deal. It's not. I may be the only person in the media who will say to you, it's not a $500 million deal. 477, close. Close enough. It's not a $500 million. It gets to a $500 million with $25 million in incentives, $2.5 million per year, spread out over 10 years. And we don't know what it takes to get to the $2.5 million. Maybe it's easy. Maybe he's got to be the MVP of the league or the Super Bowl MVP every year to get the $2.5 million. We don't know. I just feel like somebody wanted to say, here's a $500 million contract, the first $500 million contract in all of sports. The problem is, by the time we get to the second half of the contract, there's a good chance Patrick Mahomes is going to be feeling some regret. There's a good chance he's going to be feeling like he's not being paid fairly. And if push comes to shove, there's nothing he can do about it. And see, the problem is, before you even get to the point where you complain about this deal, you have to be willing to acknowledge to the world, maybe I shouldn't have signed the deal. That's the first hurdle. See, that's the genius of this deal. That's why the Chiefs employees were out looking for champagne yesterday. This is a great deal for them. And this is a deal that there's a good chance Patrick Mahomes will never say, I have regrets over it, even if he does. Think about it. And this is the John Voight's car example. Remember the Seinfeld episode where the George Costanza decision was made to buy the car that was owned by John Voight, and then there was a question as to whether or not it was really John Voight, the actor, and he kept doubling down and digging in because he didn't want to look foolish. See, players will be inclined to double down and dig in on contracts that they shouldn't have signed because the first step is to admit, maybe I shouldn't have done this. And I'm telling you, he shouldn't have done it. No great player should sign a 12-year contract. There's no reason to do it because you quickly get to the point in the life of the contract where it's a one-way deal. We talk about this all the time. The team has the right to rip it up anytime they want. The player has no right to rip it up. The player is stuck. The team isn't. Now, the guarantee mechanisms, a word that had never been used before in the 20 years I've been covering the NFL, basically a series of roster bonuses built into the contract every year. Good move. Forces the Chiefs to make an early decision. Instead of squatting on Patrick Mahomes until September, they have to make a decision in March every year. Nothing wrong with that. But first of all, it's not guaranteed money. $477 million in guarantee mechanisms. All that means is there's a roster bonus every year that forces the Chiefs to make a decision early. And if the decision is we no longer think that his skills and abilities justify what we're supposed to pay him, that's when he gets cut. And that's when he has to go out and find something else. That's when he becomes a free agent. But the reality is he only becomes a free agent if his play has diminished to the point where the Chiefs look at what they're due to pay him and they say, he's not worth this anymore. So if he's not worth that to the Chiefs, he's not going to be worth that to anybody else. There's no reason to do a 12-year deal. There really isn't. And I'm trying to understand why he agreed to it. My advice to Patrick Mahomes would have been this. Wait. You're due to make $27.63 million over the next 2 years. Wait. Franchise tag, exclusive franchise tag, which is what surely would be extended to Mahomes come early 2022, would be well north of $30 million. This year for Dak Prescott, the exclusive tag, 31.4. In 2 years, it may be 35, maybe more. Wait. 20% raise over that for 2023. 44% raise over that for 2024. Wait. Add up those numbers. For 2021, also 2020, the $27.63 million for the next 2 years, 3 years of the tag, 5 years. Do that math. That's what you're reasonably looking at getting, barring some sort of an injury that derails your career and causes the Chiefs not to exercise the franchise tag. On top of that, you've got great endorsement money that's coming in. The best player in the NFL, one of the most popular players in the NFL, endorsements out the wazoo for Patrick Mahomes. That's one of the reasons Dak Prescott has waited, his endorsement portfolio. You get an insurance policy to protect you against a career-ending injury. Now, look, the problem with insurance policies like that are, number one, they're very expensive, and number two, good luck trying to get the money when it's time to cash in, because it has to be a truly career-ending injury. Those don't happen very often to quarterbacks. And then you can try to get a loss of value policy where you would argue, well, the contract I eventually got was worth a lot less than it would have been. Good luck proving that too. See, the problem with insurance companies is this. Their commodity is money. So they want to take in as much money as they can. They want to pay out as little money as they can. That's their commodity. They have no products. They have no goods. It's money. Let's take in as much as we can. Let's pay out as little as we can. And the last thing they want to do is pay out these gigantic policies that go to professional athletes. But still, it gives you protection against a truly catastrophic outcome that prevents you from ever playing again. So you look at the bird in the hand, you look at your path year to year under the franchise tag, you look at your endorsement money, you have faith in your ability to continue to play at a high level, and you just wait. Now, what's he getting in return for that? He's traded in $27.63 million plus his ability to go year to year under the franchise tag for a contract that pays out $63 million fully guaranteed at signing, or $1 million more fully guaranteed than what Ryan Tannehill got on a 4-year contract with the Tennessee Titans. Is $63 million fully guaranteed at signing enough to justify a 12-year commitment? The easy answer to that question is no way in hell. It's not. It never is. So I'm still trying to understand why this was done. And there's some speculation in league circles that Lee Steinberg, who isn't known currently, although maybe he currently now is, as a high-level quarterback contract negotiator, there's some concern that if they had waited 2 years to do the Mahomes deal, maybe Mahomes decides to jump to another agency. Maybe after CAA gets a mega deal for Dak Prescott, Mahomes says, I think I'd like them to do my deal. Or if Deshaun Watson gets a great deal from the Texans, a 3-year deal that pays him a ton of money but gets him back to the trough sooner rather than later. Maybe Mahomes decides to go to athletes first. Maybe after Russell Wilson gets his next deal, Mahomes decides that he's going to hire the baseball agent too. Hey, I played baseball. Mark Rogers, the baseball agent with one client, has done great work for Russell Wilson, getting him market-setting deals. Maybe I'll hire him. That's a real dynamic. I mean, I'm going to peel the curtain back. That's a very real dynamic for agents. They're always worried about someone stealing their clients. And if somebody would come in and get Patrick Mahomes to go sign with them, or even if Mahomes just decides on his own, I'm going to go with someone else, you don't make any future money. Now, Lee Steinberg and his firm are fully vested in whatever percentage they're getting of that $477 million over the next 12 years. That's a nice annuity payment. That's a nice check that arrives every year from Patrick Mahomes under this deal that pays out $45 million per year in new money on the 10-year extension. So just something to think about. Just part of the reality of the agent business in the National Football League. Doing the deal now locks in the fee for 12 years. Waiting for 2 years runs the risk that someone else may end up being the one who does the long-term deal for Patrick Mahomes. There's plenty of other angles and plenty of other wrinkles and things that I haven't even thought about yet that I'll think about at some point, and I'll either write about it or we'll talk about it again tomorrow. But seriously, this isn't a criticism of Patrick Mahomes. He hired the agents to do the deal. You have to defer to your agents. They're the doctor. They're the expert. You need to trust them. I just don't know how you reconcile the talent that Patrick Mahomes has with a 12-year commitment that puts the full control in the hands of the team beyond the first couple of years. There's no reason to do this. None whatsoever. Well, he wants to stay in Kansas City. Well, that's fine. He can want to stay in Kansas City, but Kansas City has to want him. This is not a two-way commitment. Kansas City can say, we're done with you at any time after we get past the first couple of years. And you know what? Even then, the cap hits aren't that significant. If something happens, look, it's likely not going to happen. But the Chiefs have full flexibility. They have full control. They decide how long this lasts. This is not something that secures Patrick Mahomes' future in Kansas City. It secures Kansas City's future with Patrick Mahomes for as long as they want it, up to 12 years. That's why they bought that champagne yesterday, folks. What does this mean for Dak Prescott? I put the question out on Twitter today. Would the Cowboys offer Dak Prescott the Patrick Mahomes deal right now? And if so, would Patrick Mahomes' deal be accepted by Dak Prescott? And I have to let you know, Macy's just walked into the room. I thought the door was closed. So she's in here sniffing around. There's a chance you'll see her. She's under the desk right now. She thinks I may have dropped some food. I may have dropped some potato chips last night. So we're just going to keep this rolling. This is a new experience. Macy, can you please move? There, she's finally moved. You may see her in the background. There she is. I can see her back there. Anyway, and I don't think she's been out to use the bathroom today, so there's a chance she may bark at some point. But with Dak Prescott, I don't believe he would take this deal for one very obvious reason. He's not going to commit for 12 years. He'd much rather take, I believe, the Ryan Tannehill contract. 4 years, $118 million. By the way, Tannehill over the next 4 years is going to make more than Patrick Mahomes. Tannehill got $62 million fully guaranteed at signing. Mahomes got $63 million fully guaranteed at signing. I think between the two deals, Dak would take Tannehill over Mahomes. We know Dak only wants to do a 4-year deal. So what does this mean for Dak Prescott? Look, it ultimately means nothing because Prescott's got $31.4 million in hand for this year, $37.68 million in hand for next year if they tag him again, and then the opportunity to hit the open market or get a 44% raise for 2022. I've been saying all along, the Cowboys have to offer him something that will get him to trade in what he could make this year, next year, and come 2022, whether they tag him again at a 44% raise or they let him become a free agent. Patrick Mahomes' deal means nothing to Dak Prescott. Now, here's the problem. Because the best player in football has done this 12-year deal, what's going to happen to these other quarterbacks? They're going to have to deal with this comparison. You're going to hear that teams will be saying to players, well, you're no Patrick Mahomes. What makes you think you deserve a better deal than he got? We want you to sign a 12-year deal. It was good enough for Mahomes. It should be good enough for you. Now, that's probably not going to work, but it complicates life for the agents who are trying to negotiate these long-term deals for quarterbacks moving forward. 12 years should not become the norm. The deals need to be shorter, especially as we move toward a world where everything is going to increase. It's hard to see past the pandemic, but there is a future beyond the pandemic. And once we get there, the numbers are going to go up. And whether he admits it or not, Patrick Mahomes is going to regret having signed a deal that commits him to the Chiefs for 12 years, but doesn't commit the Chiefs to him for 12 years.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.